The Alpha Sessions with Emma Joyce.
So thank you, Abi Farrell, for spending the time with us online. I'd normally say thank you for coming to the studio, so that kind of feels a bit weird still. But hopefully one day we can get you down to the studio. And I feel like this has been quite a long time coming because we saw you at the gig, the EP launch for Rio, I think it was.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I think we said we put something in the diary, and then obviously like lockdown happened and stuff. So how have you been, and how did all the music stuff start for you?
I've been all right. Yeah, obviously lockdown has been a weird time for everyone, and I feel like when you're a musician and a singer like I am, it's there's all sorts of challenges. So in terms of, obviously we're not able to play live, but there's also that kind of pressure of feeling like you have to create something, or not always having a good day at this really uncertain time. So I have struggled a little bit with like tricky moods and things, and not feeling like I want to create, but then actually every now and again I've had a breakthrough where it's I've come up with a new idea or something, or had a good conversation with one of my band or something like that. So it's like little steps, at the moment, I think.
Have you been feeling like the Corona coaster? I don't know if you've heard about the Corona coaster.
Yeah. I think it's so common as well.
Yeah.
Have you just kind of 100%. Ups and downs?
Yeah, 100%. And things that you wouldn't normally be fussed about suddenly make you really fussed.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
So there's been some flop days where there's been no musical creativity whatsoever, and then there's been some really good days where I've sort of put some vocals on a few things that I'm putting together with some friends, came up with some song ideas. So yeah, I've been all right.
How did all the music stuff start for you?
So I mean, I'm a singer primarily, and then I've been writing songs since I was 14 as well. So it kind of started when I was in secondary school. I joined a soul band at the age of about 13 or 14.
Wow.
We did loads of we did loads of like old Motown covers. So I mean, all sorts of music really, but artists like Smokey Robinson and Dusty Springfield and Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, all sorts. So I very quickly at a young age had to learn all these pretty chunky, sometimes like powerhouse songs. And at the time I had quite a simple voice, but it really helped me to come out my shell. And we only did like local gigs and school gigs and things, and in pubs, just like when we got old enough. But it was sort of like, if you were a singer, that's what you started out in. So at that time I got a bit of a bug for soul music, or soul inspired music at least, and then went to university to study history, and all through that time I was singing as well with lots of different bands and writing, but it's only really since I've been in London for the last 3 years that I've also had full-time jobs since I've lived in London as well, but it's only really sort of the last 3 years that I've really focused in on a specific artist project, because I've had I've been able to save up the funds to sort of pay for recording and get things off the ground a bit, because it can be quite costly when you're starting out. And
quite a lot as well.
So sort of started out as a teenager really singing in that soul band, and then I just got the bug and it snowballed from there. So yeah.
We've had your EP on for the last few days, and it's great, and I feel like this is a really good segue, because you were chatting about how costly recording is, and I imagine making that EP, although it was last year, must have been such a massive project for you, and such a like long time coming. I think all the tracks are great, but the highlight for me was Change the World. I think that's my favourite song. Talk to me about that a little bit. What's like the story behind it?
Sure. So Change the World is actually the oldest song on the EP. The tracks on the EP are kind of between, sort of 2 years and 5 years old now, because it was the first time that I'd been able to put out anything I'd created, in terms, like I was saying, just in terms of being able to pay for the recording and stuff. Change the World I wrote with my really good friend John Sweetman in my second year of uni, and we were in a sort of funky soulful band together at the time, And it's kind of, looking back, I feel like it doesn't really represent how I feel about things today, because at the time it was essentially like we were part of a really kind of close-knit group of friends, and we tended to get on with everybody. But we started to notice sort of characters on the uni campus who would be really, really, really confident and like obstinate to the point of kind of not really wanting to say hello or not really wanting to mix. Yeah. So it was kind of about, I mean, I wrote all the lyrics and John kind of did the funky composition and stuff, and then the melody came from me. But we got into this conversation about basically how we'd met all these strong characters who we didn't really know how to, we just didn't really know like how to deal with them. And it was a strange time as well, because I feel like the music scene at the time in the area was quite competitive. So the line, "You might change the world, but you will not change me," I suppose it's kind of about a commentary on how you might deal with like adversity, or how you might deal with a difficult personality. And I think I listen back to the lyrics and I think, wow, like 20-year-old me was quite like quite childish, whereas now at 26 I'm a bit more like, I probably wouldn't have put it in such a childish way of like, trying to get someone to be polite and be kind, I suppose. But because we were kind of in this group who got on with everyone. So yeah, I guess it's kind of just about difficult personalities and how you navigate them, and you know, not to the detriment of your own character. But increasingly, like I actually get a lot of women kind of all ages come up to me after gigs and say that they really like this one because it helps them feel like they can navigate a difficult situation. So there was a lady who'd said that there was a lady kind of probably about my mum's and my auntie's age, like last summer when I sung it at a local music festival, and she said, you know, when you sang "You Might Change the World, but You Will Not Change Me," it really felt like I could have some get up and go. So thank you. Like, you know, she was like really, really sincere about it, and that was amazing, because I think it kind of takes on a new meaning for you know, for people who weren't in that. You know, I was just talking about people on campus who think they're amazing but they don't want to speak to you because, you know, they're being rude or whatever. But it's kind of taken on a new meaning. And whenever I think about like Donald Trump as well, I often think perhaps it could be like, you know, like a rallying cry against all the nasty stuff that he's doing, you know, because someone might change the world but they're not actually going to change the essence of who we are. That was deep anyway.
You've got enough, and I can tell this situation's cold. But I've had 2 steps forward, you're not pushing me 3 back. And if you feel like pushing the light from my eyes, you can burn. 'Cause I've had 2 years longer than you, so just sit, watch and learn. That you can find. Don't be quite so fearless, be hopeless, you will see. You might change the world, but you will not change me. Open your eyes and you will see just what I can do. So much better when you shied away from the light. And if you wanna push the light from my eyes, you can try, you can burn. I've had 2 years longer than you, so just sit, watch and learn. Payments sound red with your name, and I'll thank you with mine. I know the answers to the questions that you can find. Don't be quite so fearless, be hopeless, you will see. You might change the world, but you will not change me. Don't you change it. Don't you change it. Don't you change it, yeah. Don't you change it, yeah. Your payments sound red with your name, and I'll thank you with mine. I know the answers to the questions that you can find. Don't be quite so fearless, be hopeless, you will see. You might change the world, but you will not change me. Change me, yeah. You might change the world, but you will not change me. Change me, yeah. You might change the world, but you will not change me.
The Alpha Sessions with Emma Joyce.
So the EP, The Only Way I Learn, talk us through that. I mean, we touched briefly on how costly it is, but it must have been like such a long time in the making.
Definitely. I knew that I wanted to release an EP, well, to release music,
Yeah.
from about my second year of uni, which would have been, yeah, like 6-7 years ago now. And I think a lot of the process was collecting up songs that I knew that I was proud of, that were most representative of me and the kind of journey I've been on. So
Yeah.
I often say when people ask me about the EP, that it kind of gives you a bit of a walkthrough of everything I've been through. Probably, you know, nothing drastic, just like, I suppose, like young female stuff. It kind of gives you a walkthrough of everything I've been through from the ages of about 20 to 25. And a lot of the sort of theme of the songs centre a lot around self-doubt and self-esteem and empowerment, because self-doubt is something that I've struggled with from a really young age, even though I can feel really confident one day and the next that can completely change. And so that kind of tends to be a bit of a running theme through the songs. So I suppose it's kind of about 6 or 7 years in the making, but it took all these things to line up. So it took like meeting my band, for instance, who they're all sort of like some of my really good friends, both that I met in Birmingham at uni and since I've moved to London. So it took a while for like that unit to fall together. It took a while to find a studio and a producer that I knew I was going to really trust, because I'd never sort of done anything like that before. So yeah, definitely a long time in the making, but it was never something that I felt like I could just force out. It was sort of like I had to get advice from lots of different people and input from lots of different people to make it work.
It sounds silly, but like, how did you know what to do?
Just from, I think, just from kind of having friends who were starting to release music and had released music. So my guitarist and best friend Ben, who you'll hear on the EP playing guitar and that you'll see playing live with me, he'd recorded with a couple of bands before. He used to be in a band when we were at university with my bass player George as well. So they'd been through the sort of process of choosing a studio, choosing a producer in that kind of traditional band setup way, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he's been a massive support in terms of just sense checking, like, you know, what sounds like the best way to do. And then also my first full-time job out of uni was an internship at Sony Music in marketing.
That's cool.
So I knew, it was really good fun. I finished it about, 3 years ago now.
Wow.
But that was incredible because as much as it was that much bigger scale, I was sort of like, I was a marketing assistant across lots of different artists doing really kind of, you know, like small level tasks that would support day-to-day releases. And that taught me so much about just day-to-day promotion and I suppose like getting products made. So getting like a physical CD made, I would have to do that for promo copies and order them in and that sort of thing. So that job really helped me see from a sort of admin perspective how you might schedule a release and how you might line everything up and promote things. So I'm really grateful I had that experience because I'm not sure I would have fully known how to do it without it, I suppose. But it's tricky. There's no real blueprint of like how to release a single, how to release a EP. I don't know what kind of other artists you speak to think, but it is really a minefield. Yeah.
100%. It's such a minefield, and like as a non-musician, I think that anyone who can get that sort of thing off the ground and releases music in that way, I just think is so amazing.
Yeah.
Was EP everything you thought it was going to be?
Ooh, good question.
As in, did you go in there and have a set mind of what the outcome would be, and was it that, or was it different?
I think so. I think I didn't go in sort of prescriptively thinking this is exactly how it's going to go because I had no idea. I knew that we had sort of quite strong arrangements with the full band that it would just be a case of sort of tracking it all together rather than needing kind of experimental production or whatever. Like all the songs were there before we went in, which I know is quite different to how a lot of artists like to write songs. Sometimes they'll just go to a studio and write a song on the spot, you know. So I suppose I knew I kind of had some degree of how it would turn out. But yeah, I think I didn't fully know how exactly it was going to be, but I ended up with a recording that I think is representative of my sound from say 5-6 years ago till now, and how it's kind of evolved, I suppose.
You've obviously done some awesome videos for us of your live tracks, which we've seen, and they're amazing. Obviously, normally in the studio you would play live for us, so this was like the closest equivalent we could find. I wanted to chat to you a little bit about some of the tracks that you've played. What about Empowered? What's that about?
Sure. So that one I haven't recorded yet. It's not been released yet, but it's next on my list too. Cool. I wrote it in the summer of 2018, and I'd just come out of a really, really difficult relationship. I essentially felt as though I'd been spending a lot of my time with this particular person and kind of putting my self-esteem in their hands and not taking full ownership of the things that made me happy and kind of cultivating my own self-confidence and self-esteem, I think. So it was about kind of coming out of a relationship where you feel like you're being gaslighted in the sense that that person isn't quite meeting your needs, but then the chances are you're not quite meeting theirs. And I suppose it talks about both I think it kind of mainly sums up the relief I felt when I knew I was going to be all right on my own, because for so long I thought to myself, it was kind of the main kind of madly in love relationship I'd had kind of in my early 20s, and I felt as though I didn't really know any different because I'd really grown with this person and we'd had a musical kind of relationship together as well, which was incredible. And so it was difficult to kind of see life on the other side when things personally didn't quite work out. So it was kind of just me saying, you know, okay, this is the point where I feel like I'm going to be all right on my own. If I don't kind of muster some kind of self-confidence from myself now, then I will always be pandering after these last 2 years. So yeah, that one is probably my favourite one because it's just completely honest. And I wrote it in Berlin.
Deep.
Yeah, I was just wandering around Berlin, kind of a month after I'd been dumped, and you know, I have so much respect for this person, and really grateful for like what we brought to each other's lives. But at the time, it was a really, really tough period of
I can imagine.
feeling completely ignored and feeling like they were kind of edging away for a long time. And it's strange, like you can be, you know, you can have loads of people telling you that you've got a lovely voice, and you know, like you've got lovely curly hair, and you know, you're this and you're that, and they love you, and these, you know, family and friends and really supportive people. But if it's awful when that one person, when you're having trouble with that one person, like it can make you feel worthless if you put all of your self-esteem and all of your worth kind of in front of them and in their hands.
So the person that you're supposed to be closest to.
So I feel kind of on the other side of that now, but there's lots of more songs kind of along the theme of empowered that have taken, you know, like it's been 2 years now since it all ended, but that have taken 2 years to kind of come to fruition, where I've sort of been thinking about, you know, I've had some time on my own and thinking about what was important to me. So yeah, empowered is a fave.
Do you feel that, and I have this discussion with musicians a lot, when something big like that happens and it's not necessarily the happiest thing at the time, it almost gives you, I want to use the word fuel to kind of write more and use writing as an outlet to kind of express your emotion in that way?
Yeah, definitely. It felt very sad for a long time, and then after a while, within about 2 to 3 months, I was, you know, I'd find myself on walks and kind of writing random kind of words and random phrases into my phone, where I'm making sense of how I felt and how I'm better off out of it, I suppose. But it definitely took a while, and actually only when lockdown hit as well, the first song that came out in lockdown when I was sort of writing on my own was a song about the end of that breakup and when I had to see them for the first time. And I was thinking to myself, this is really weird, because it's been like 2 years and I feel great. Obviously that period of quiet brought something up for me where I was able to kind of access how I felt then and make sense of it a bit.
It's been such a time for rebalance for like so many people, and I think that's maybe how it is.
yeah, definitely.
What about All About You?
This one really makes me smile. So Guy, who you saw play at Rue's EP launch in February, we've been friends for a little while. We met through Rue, and then he moved into my flat. She's incredible, absolutely incredible. Just wonderful musician all round, incredible songwriter. And she introduced me to Guy, who's also just this incredible sort of pop soul musician and writer. And he moved in with me in March, literally just before lockdown happened. We had a spare room, and he saw my ad and was like, "Oh, I'm looking for somewhere." So then that just kicked off then like 3 months of being the only people in our flat, and you know, really becoming really great friends. And that's kind of been really lovely. That will always be kind of like a fab memory of lockdown for me. But in that first week, we sort of thought, right, well, I suppose we better write some music. And Guy actually he started it, we wrote it together. He had the sort of acoustic guitar loop, and I think we wrote it in about 3 chunks between March and April of this year. And
so it's fairly new.
Yeah, really new. So he started out with the guitar loop, and then I've been thinking a lot, just as lockdown kind of happened, about how if I were to get back into another relationship, how I kind of make sense of, say, what I've been through before without projecting it too much onto them, and without letting it get in the way. So the first line is like, I was speaking to him and I said, you know, look, it's your idea of, it was your kind of guitar hook to start with. So like, did you envisage a direction for this song? And he was like, no, just feel free to kind of put your stamp on it kind of lyrically. And that whole theme was what I had in my head. So I thought, okay, well, do you mind if I kind of run with this idea of learning how to be vulnerable in a relationship when you've kind of been hurt before? And he was like, yeah, that sounds really good. And it was kind of in keeping with the, I suppose, like R&B sound as well, that he kind of helped to bring out of me. So I mean, I think the first line is, never seem to have the time for healing. I get so defensive and I don't give a reason, and it's kind of just me talking about previous versions of me and how that, you know, you've kind of got to look after yourself before you can properly give your love to anyone else. Which I think is true for anybody, kind of whatever you've been through. So that one was a really lovely one, and I think it kind of spoke to what we'd both kind of been through in the past as well. So it was lovely to, like, kind of separately, so it was lovely to kind of come together and create something. So that one really makes me smile.
Never seem to have the time for healing. I get so defensive and I won't give a reason. So can you handle me? 'Cause for the time being I'm scared you won't lead in. I'll be a whole lot of trouble, so will you take me in the skin I'm in? Will I be back on my bullshit when love outweighs pride? He'll take my number but find out my mind. The second I show that I'm sensitive, I'm out of time. 'Cause it ain't all about you. 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 Don't think I won't be ready when the day comes. Got a strength of will, the tester that him designed. 'Cause I remember the one who said I had potential. I knew I was enough the second it didn't feel right. If it's back to the norm, I won't apologize for the ways I get lonely and try to be kind. I won't say sorry for wanting some more of your time. 'Cause it ain't all about you. 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 So are you in? Will you go where I go? If I snap, then I'm sorry. It's the ghost of a love who wouldn't let me speak. And no, I don't wanna put all this on you. I know you're good, but I must pass on the truth so we can move. 'Cause it ain't all about you. 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 It ain't all about. It ain't all about. It ain't all about. It ain't all about you. You.
The Alpha Sessions with Emma Joyce.
You've mentioned your band quite a few times. Can we do a quick run through of who's in your band and what they play?
Sure. So one of my best mates, Ben Pincus, plays guitar. We've been friends for about 5 or 6 years. We met at university at an open mic night. My bass player is George Chapman, and he is actually a doctor, a qualified
Amazing.
degree. So he's a doctor and bassist, multi-talented, and we met at university as well. We sort of go way back. My keys player is called Tom Althorpe, and I met him through another sort of female singer-songwriter and vocalist called Faber. We met kind of playing on the same gig. She's incredible. We met playing on the same gig a few years ago, and Tom was her, they're very good friends, but Tom was her keys player at the time, and I just happened to need a keys player sort of a few years into living in London, and Faber's Hannah, which is Faber's real name, said, do you want to contact Tom? So I did, and we just really sort of hit it off. So he plays keys, really get on. And then my drummer is Max Mills, who is a full-time drummer. He's a graduate of the Royal College of Music, and we met at a show we played at Camden Assembly in like late 2017, and me and Ben were doing a acoustic set, I think, and he was playing drums with another band, and he heard us and happened to say, oh, if you ever want to get like a band around you, then let me know. And I was thinking, gosh, I'd just seen him play, and I was like, bloody hell, this incredible drummer is like saying that he'll play all my songs. This is mental. But I took him up on the offer, and yeah, we've been sort of playing together the last sort of just over 2 years, I think. So they're a good bunch. And it's difficult when you've got an originals project, it's really difficult to find a band who are committed, and obviously they all have their own projects, they all have like lots of other things going on. So every now and again, kind of another one of my friends or someone else will kind of step in. Max frequently has a lot of kind of like theatre gigs and things, so often we'll kind of bring in a couple of other drummers, my friend Luke or my friend Nuno. But it's like, they're just incredible, like dedicated people, and they're the ones that you'll hear them like on the EP as well. So I was just grateful that they would like voluntarily spend 3 days in the studio with me, to be honest. But yeah, they're a good bunch.
Let's talk about artists that you like, and what you've been listening to in lockdown. I found this really interesting because I think people's music tastes have kind of like either stayed the same or varied slightly due to being in confinement almost. What are you normally into, and is that the sort of thing that you've been listening to whilst in lockdown?
Yeah, so I mean, my favourite artists are, it's kind of a mixture. So I love artists that are kind of inspired by soul music or kind of are soul artists. So I love like Aretha Franklin, Dusty Springfield, Carole King, kind of, really strong voices and kind of strong songwriting I love. But then in terms of more modern kind of current singers, I love like Hayley Williams, who's the lead singer of Paramore, who's recently released her kind of debut album. I love Erin Allen Kane, who's a sort of soul singer from Chicago, who for a time was like mentored by Prince and discovered by Prince. She's incredible. But I think more recently, kind of in lockdown, I mean, it's been a bit of a mixture. I've definitely had my favourite album of lockdown that's been released since we kind of came into it is Hayley Williams' Petals for Armour, because have you heard it?
No, I haven't actually.
It's so she spent kind of over, like nearly 15 years as the lead singer of Paramore, who are kind of known for rock band, but also kind of like poppy and new wave influences later on. But she went through quite a difficult time in her life with a divorce and things, and basically like came out with these incredible tracks that are a mixture between, they're sort of like a mixture between being inspired by like Radiohead and Portishead, but also by like Janet Jackson and Sade, and more kind of like soul-y, funky stuff as well. So there's a real mix on that album, and it talks a lot about like female kind of vulnerability and I suppose like some of the themes I was talking about earlier about like feeling like you're ready to get into a new relationship. She talks a lot about kind of like, she legitimizes kind of this idea of like female anger as well, how it's kind of allowed if you feel like anger is permitted, if you feel angry about something, like you just have to use it in an appropriate way, I suppose. So yeah, she kind of deals with lots of really complex emotions, and I've loved that. That's been on high rotation. But then kind of since I've come home as well, I've had those classic albums on repeat. So Carole King's Tapestry. I've had like quite a lot of old music, like the Carpenters. I love Sade, Diamond Life, that album. Christina Aguilera as well.
A nice mix.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say that those are the artists that would influence you most? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, definitely Carole King, Dusty Springfield. Although, like, for Dusty in particular, there would be a lot of kind of like male songwriters behind that, like back in the day. I definitely really relate to those really soulful tunes that tug on your heartstrings and that have like a real strong statement. So yeah.
And in terms of gigs, like obviously being in the current situation, we've had to go very much like online, and you've done loads of nights that would normally be live in a venue online. I'm thinking of like the Ned on Monday night, which we used to go to quite regularly, or like other things. How have you found that adaptation? Have you had to like do anything in particular to make that a thing?
I think it's been really strange because it's lovely to do those nights, and I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunities to. But it's a real change in the sense that you've got to get up to speed with the technology that you need to, make yourself properly heard and make it look appealing. I think I would have actually have liked to have done more live gigs, but my kind of knowledge of how to use the technology didn't necessarily like come till much later, through kind of learning from my flatmate and learning from people around me. So yeah, I definitely would have liked to have done more, but I think it was the best thing to do given the circumstances. And what's still lovely is being able to perform and kind of see, it's strange at first, but being able to see comments and seeing that you're kind of resonating with people, because it can feel like I get a lot of my enthusiasm from playing live, because that's when I sort of test out new songs or feel encouraged or whatever. So sometimes it can, like, having those online gigs were a real break from just feeling like you're staring at four walls or kind of in your own head. Having to kind of, because I love that routine of like getting ready for a gig as well, so like warming up, sort of putting my makeup on and getting ready and chatting to my friends. So I suppose it kind of helped to put back that routine in some way. But very strange.
So weird. I was thinking the comments that you get online whilst you're shooting, is that kind of like being heckled? Does that feel weird?
Not really. I think because you can sort of, it's almost easier to kind of tune out of them.
Yeah.
Because you're just like on your sofa or on a chair singing. A lot of the time at gigs, especially if it's like a full band gig, then some of my closest friends will like be in the front dancing, and sometimes they'll like shout at me, which is worse because I'm like, I can't hear you and I need to concentrate. Otherwise pure trash will come out of my mouth. So in a way it's kind of easier because God bless them, my best mates aren't like shouting jokes at me. So yeah.
You mentioned at the start of the interview that some days you are feeling really creative and the pressure's really good because you get to like write stuff and work on stuff, and then other days are a bit of a kind of flop, I guess, like in real life. What are you working on at the moment that you can tell us about?
So I've been writing songs that I think would work well on a second EP, if not would work well as kind of individual songs. So there's a song I finished fairly early on in lockdown called Same Room, which I've recently demoed, and that will kind of be next, well, as well as Empowered, that will be next on my list to find a producer for, because it might involve a little bit more of an electronic influence, or it might need someone who's a bit of a producer, kind of multi-instrumentalist, to kind of lift it from, I've got like a little Wurlitzer part and a vocal part and a little beat behind it so far on the demo. So hopefully be working on that. I have been co-writing as well with an incredible independent singer and songwriter called Nick Corbin, who's just released his, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's just released his sort of debut solo album called Sweetest Escape, which has, so he was in a band for like many years before that. He was sort of signed to an independent label, and he's kind of just branched out on his own. And he kind of loves that modern soul, sort of like British soul sound. So he's been kind of putting together some tracks, and I've been kind of writing over them. So hopefully we can get in a studio not so far from now and record that. And then just in terms of like smaller projects, just been like just today recording vocals for a couple of sort of like funkier tunes that I'm going to be doing, just like online covers of with some of my friends. So yeah, just been chatting to my drummer Max. We're kind of putting something fun together. So yeah, there's stuff in the works, but like I feel like until I get a date in the diary to get back in the studio, it's tricky to say when anything new is coming. But there might also be a music video for a couple of my EP tracks as well, because
so
that was kind of
stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah, quite a lot. I feel like I need to focus my attention.
So you're talking about like there isn't anything, and like you haven't really been up to much, when really you've been up to loads.
when like that actually like lifts the worry a bit. Do you know what it is?
100%.
I think it's where like on Instagram you see so many writers and artists at the minute creating that like it's easy to think that's all the time, and that, oh god, if I'm sat here like watching this morning with my cup of tea with my mum, then I'm not doing enough. But actually,
no, it's totally fine. I think there's so much pressure from the outside world about like leaving lockdown and coming out with something. I'm like totally furloughed from my day job, so I'm feeling that pressure a little bit as well. And there's a load of stuff online that sort of says like, oh well, you should do this course and that course and become a policewoman and write tunes and like literally anything. So but it's also really important to like get to grips with your brain and like how you're feeling and stuff, and like readdress the balance. So it's totally fine to have a flop day, just like in real life when it's totally fine to have a flop day.
Definitely. I was been having some like singing lessons as well with a new singing teacher who's really lovely. She was saying, she's called Ulrika, she's fab, and she was saying to me this morning, we were saying how we'd had some kind of down days and whatever, and we'd not always, she said, but rest is kind of part of your journey as well. So she was like, you cane it for 8 hours a day on your microphone in the corner, then you're gonna conk out. So about sort of importance of rest, and that's just as sometimes that can make you more productive because you're able to sort of relax, I suppose.
Big question: if you were to get a phone call like now, and they said you can start a gig tomorrow, you can do a gig tomorrow, which venue would it be at?
Oh my god! Anywhere. Oh my gosh.
Could be somewhere that you played before, or somewhere that you never have played before and you'd love to.
Gosh, I'm still trying to. I would love to play. I'm being realistic here. In the future, I'd love to play a headline show at the Jazz Cafe.
Cool.
That would be incredible.
Okay.
But like more realistic, I would love to like do a support slot for someone at the Jazz Cafe.
Yeah. Who would that person be if you could collaborate with someone?
Ooh. I think if I feel like there's a kind of wild card, like completely stab in the dark answer.
Go on.
I mean, if like Amy Winehouse was still alive, God rest her soul, I would love to like support her, for instance.
Okay, cool. So Amy Winehouse at the Jazz Cafe.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
I would live. Like, I mean, yeah, God rest her soul, but like
She's
that.
amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be incredible. But then actually, yeah, if there was, I think I would have to say like Erin Allen Kane, just this, you know, like this incredible kind of like Chicago soul singer. If she was kind of ever in town, I would love to.
So it could be like a super group with Amy Winehouse and her.
Yeah, that would be
Jazz
fab.
Cafe. Okay, and then if you could have, you're performing that night and the Jazz Cafe came to you and they said that you can have your dream rider, anything you want for that night, what would it be?
Oh my God. Loads of, sorry to the vegans out there and veggies, but loads of KFC chicken, like buckets and buckets for me and my band. I feel like that's the crowd pleaser. Bottle of red wine or several.
Yeah.
Bottle of Jack Daniels. That's my sort of like, when I've had a few wines, that's my kind of
go-to
party drink. Okay. And I suppose a lot of Coca-Cola, a lot of mixer. Lots of like cookies or like Ben's cookies.
Yeah.
Or like a bit like all the warm gooey ones, or Krispy Kreme donuts. Bananas for potassium, because they're often good when you're low on energy. They're quite good for stage. Loads of
that's a good one.
Loads of crisps. This is basically just like the shopping list I now give my dad when he goes to Asda. No, I don't make him get all that. But yeah, all sorts. I think yeah, definitely red wine is a big one.
Okay, cool. And then really important to end the chat with, if people want to find out more about you, where can they go? What can they do?
Oh, so if they want to listen to my music, they can go onto any platform, you know, any platform that they normally listen to their music on. Spotify is a great place to start, or Bandcamp to kind of get hold of a physical album. There's still plenty of those left. Good place to kind of go as a first stop is Instagram, because that tends to be the first place that I post. I mean, I keep it all sort of consistent across socials, but that's kind of the place where you'll see most of my kind of day-to-day interactions and things. So if I'm writing a song, that might be where you might hear a little snippet, or you might hear sort of first about a gig or live gig or something, you know, like online gig or something. So yeah, probably Instagram. So I'm at Abi Farrell Music, and then it's just my full name. If anything ever goes wrong, it'll be under my birth name, which is terrifying, but hopefully it won't go wrong. So yeah, anywhere really, but mainly sort of Instagram, Spotify, maybe.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and chatting to us. It's been really fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been really, really lovely, and yeah, it was lovely to meet you back at that gig in February as well.
And hopefully, when this is all over, we can get you down to the studio properly and do a physical session. I feel like saying.
Yeah. I'd love to. That would be incredible. And yeah, I love what you're doing with you know, with kind of keeping things going in lockdown with lots of different artists and checking out your posts and things. And yeah, I just think the industry kind of needs lovely people like you to be able to nurture us, you know, when we're kind of getting started out, or when we're kind of we would like more ears to hear us. So yeah, thank you so much. It's incredible work that you're doing.
Oh no, thank you for spending time with me. That means a lot. And hopefully we'll catch you at a gig when things are back up and running as well.
Yes, yeah, fingers crossed.
Before you came on the scene, oh, I can make ambition grow from a tiny seed. Oh, trust myself when you'd say no. It's clear to see that I'm not on your mind, so I am the soldier commanding my time. Hey, yeah. If I don't feel empowered now, I never will. If I'm not important to you, I'll find some kindness, give it to myself. I'm not chasing your love, 'cause it's bad for my health. We'll sing together 50 times, but not speak again. Oh, I will never wait for you. I won't call you a friend. Oh, when you put your gaslight on, I see red. To think I didn't trust myself, you'd say no. It's clear to see that I'm not on your mind, so I am the soldier commanding my time. Hey, yeah. If I don't feel empowered now, I never will. If I'm not important to you, I'll find some kindness, give it to myself. I'm not chasing your love, 'cause it's bad for my health. And you can take it from me.